We're going to be in Matthew today, first book of the New Testament, starting in chapter 13. First book of the New Testament, so go to the Old Testament and then hang right. Let's start with the announcement first, because I know everyone has been wanting to know what's going on. We had a vote last week, and the vote needed 2/3 to pass so that we could amend and change, and however it is you want to look at it, the Constitution, the bylaws, and our statement of faith. These are available for anybody if you'd like to look at them. But effective July 9th, 2017, it was passed. We needed 2/3, and we finished over 5/6. So that tells me that our church family is together on it. It's a difficult process, and it will continue to be a difficult process. But through this time, we're going to be a church that's going to focus on faith, hope, and love. Not just faith and having faith, but having faithfulness where we take our faith to others, having hopefulness where we bring hope to others, and then living on each one of these with love, which is the greatest of all. And that's 1 Corinthians 13. So it isn't something that we just made up and just decided, oh, that's what we're going to do. But as a church, when people ask you, what is your church about? We're going to be a church that literally we can say, well, we learn it, we live it, we love others with it. Say it with me. We learn it, live it, love others with it. 3 in a row. Learn it, live it, love others with it. You know what? A year from now, we're going to get this. I'm just telling you. So we'll keep practicing every single week. Learn it, live it, love others with it. Faith, hope, and love. That's what we're going to be focused upon as a church. So today we're going to be in Matthew 13, and we're better to start than by listening to the words of Jesus. I'm going to say a word of prayer and we can dive in. Lord, as we come to you, God, this time, Lord, these moments are yours. Lord, open our hearts, open our minds to your word. Lord, help those to collide in such a way that we decide that, Lord, each and every single day that we can learn your word, that we can live your word, that we can share that with others. God, help us to take this to a world that needs to see faith, that needs to know that there is hope, and God, most of all, that needs to be loved. Lord, we're that same way, each one of us, but God, we need to be brought up before you so that we can take this to others. Lord, just watch over our minds and our hearts again. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Dan and I, when we first had our first house we ever had, it was in Firestone Park. And part of the reason that we loved where it was at is because it was a block and a half away from her dad's garage. And I know nothing about cars, so I figured if the car broke down, the thing I could easily do is put it in neutral and push it down the hill. Now, there's no guarantee that I could stop it, but we knew that it was right down there. We could stop and see Dad and say hello and all sorts of kind of things. And it was a nice first house for us. But when we moved into this house, the people that lived there before us were very meticulous. And everything was like in line and in order and organized. And for those of you that know us as a family, you'll know that we are not very much in order, we're not very organized, and that's just not who we are. And so we, our house is lived in, we know where stuff is. Like, if you say, hey, where's that? Well, it's in the garage. And that's about all we know. So sometimes it takes us 2 hours to find something. But one thing that the wife of the house, or of this family, she was very meticulous about the outside. Now, I don't know anything about plants. And when I was growing up, we had the bushes that grew like forever. And so that way they shaded enough or killed all the weeds, you didn't have to worry about it. However, we had a garden, so I knew about the plants in the garden, but I didn't know about actual plants outside that. I didn't know that people bought plants just to buy plants. I didn't know that this one has to sit in the sun, and this one has to do this and that and the other thing, whatever it might be. So I'm sitting out on our deck now, just the other day, and I'm looking, and I noticed that in the back, in our back flower bed, that there's these different plants. And in these plants that are there, I'm someone that I don't know the difference between a weed and a plant. But I noticed that little yellow pointy thing, that plastic, which I thought when you buy a plant, you just take that thing and throw it away. Well, here, there's actually instructions on it. I know. You can actually look at it. It'll tell you it should be full sun, medium sun, no sun, whatever it might be. And so I went out, and this plant is in the ground now, and Deanna had taken that little plastic thing and put it next to the plant. And I thought, well, why would you do that? Because it's supposed to be thrown away. And then I realized that isn't there so that she knows what to do with the plant. That's there so that I know what to do with the plant. And so sure enough, I looked up, this thing should be in the sun, and sure enough, the sun was coming down. And I started looking around, and so if she would leave these things next to every plant, I then would know what to weed. Because my excuse has always been, well, I'm afraid to pull that out because I was worried that it was a weed. And if you look at our family, you'll find out why. going back to this house in Firestone Park, we had these wonderful flower beds, and mulching is something I can do. Any guy can do it because it's kind of a dumbed-down job, and you just have to, like, you know, take a pitchfork and throw the mulch in, and, you know, take a wheelbarrow and then shake it all out and then just kind of spread it. It doesn't take a lot of brain power, so men, I mean, we are all over that. But when it comes to, like, weeding, and you got to get all the way down to the root and all that, you know, it's just not something I really enjoy doing. It's not like a, you know, big deal, but women really like it because there's a plant that they can plant on the end that flowers and all those things. So each of these beds, Deanna wanted to make sure that they were really nice because the owners of the house said they were going to come back and visit from time to time. So over this summer, we've got all this pressure of, you know, putting in this mulch, and we don't have the kids yet, and so we're getting all this stuff perfect, and we've got these plants growing, and, you know, one day I'm just kind of taking a look, and I'm like, she's done a really, really good job. And all those little plastic things, she had thrown out those little papers, you know, with them, but she knew what everything was, where they belong, she knew the names of them, and they have, like, two names, like they, you know, it doesn't just say flower, and then it gives you the, like, the Latin term for it, so that, you know, that's Planus flowers, or whatever it might be that you know they just put in. Who cares? I don't care about that stuff, but they look nice, and that's all I noticed. So some flowers, they bloom during a certain time, others bloom during another time. So we're going through this, and it looks really good when all of a sudden that family shows up. And so they're just stopping by to see how we're doing. Now, how are you guys going? Oh, great, 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 great. Well, Deanna was so proud of all the work that she had done. She wanted to show all of the plants and everything to the lady of the house, the former lady of the house. She's the lady of the house now, so let's make sure we have that understood. So the former lady of the house. So she goes to the front bed, and she's showing this plant, and this plant, and this plant, and she's giving them all the names of them, and the lady's going, and she's kind of, you know, kind of giving her kind of a little bit of the cold shoulder, but I think kind of taking it in, because the plants that she had done, she had taken out the plants from before. But here's the thing, this lady doesn't live here anymore. So Deanna is now the queen of the house, and she gets to pick whatever plant she wants, and I'm good with that. I just have to mulch. So we go to the back of the house, which is where the bigger beds are. And we start on the one side, they're coming all the way through, and Deanna's going through and sharing with each one what they are, and, you know, all that stuff. This is, you know, partial sun, and blah, 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 blah. And we get all the way to the very end, which is the closest side of the house. And Deanna says, that's this plant, and that's this plant, and then she stops for a second. And in the middle was the prize plant. And this thing had grown up, and it got to the point where it had flowers on it, and it looked really, really nice. But it wasn't one that Deanna had chosen. So now, here she is, and she's standing with the former queen of the house, and there's this one plant that was growing. And so she looks, and she's like, I have all this stuff. She goes, except for that one there, I don't know what that plant is. The lady stops, and she looks at us, and kind of looks back at the plant, and she reaches in, and she grabs hold of it, and she yanks it out of the ground, and shakes it like this, and throws it over the side. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, we stole her plant. She's like that. And she literally looked back at us and said, that's a weed. The best plant that, from my standpoint, that I saw had no, you know, pictures of it, nothing, you know, that was watered, and it kept growing and growing and growing. You didn't need to know if it was in full sun, partial sun, whatever it might be. But this thing had grown and grown. I mean, it was like, you know, 4 feet tall, and it had flowered and all that. But it was, after all this, a weed. And isn't that kind of story for our lives? We're walking along, and everything is great, and we're like, man, this looks good here, and this looks good over there, and then we're moving, and all of a sudden we look back, and we're like, you know, but this one thing, but it looks kind of good on the surface, and it seems like it would be a good thing, but at the same time, I didn't really recognize, and all of a sudden it sprouted up this high, and even though it has flowers and it looks good on the outside, it's really something that needs to get out of my life. And I need to have someone alongside of me that recognizes it, so they're willing to reach in and not only show me that it's a weed, but grab a hold of that thing, pull it out, shake off the roots, and put it in a place where it's going to die. But also for each one of us, we have to be willing to do so. See, after she left, we didn't replant that weed. We took in the spot where the roots would grow, or where the roots would die, and then we could throw it in the trash and get rid of it. And we could start over. But what happened was, here's this weed that's laid aside, and if you look back down the ground, there was this huge hole that was sitting there. Well, the roots had reached down, and as it was pulled out, you could see where it actually had pulled away other plants. And so some of these other good things around it, it took time now to go back to mend those things. It took time for us to go back and say, listen, we want to make this not only look better, but for everything around it, for it to continue to grow and to flourish. And many times what ends up happening is where you take that weed out, other weeds try to start popping up again and try to come back because they want to take the life of everything around it. That's what weeds do. They don't care where they grow. They don't care if there's sunlight. They don't care if there's rain. They don't care what the weather is outside. All they care to do is to take whatever it is that's good that's going on, wrap it around, take the life from it, the breath from it, and continue to grow. And for a lot of us, we don't realize until it's too late. I think for some of us right now, with this whole thing that we've gone through here recently, it's been a struggle. Because we've lost people that are close to us. We've lost people that are friends of ours. We've lost people that we thought, oh my goodness, such great things are happening. And then all of a sudden, boom, it feels like a bomb goes off. Well, what's happened is a weed's been pulled and there's this hole. And we now need to put more soil down. And we need to cover it with some mulch, or we need to make sure that we're constantly continuing to look over that and care for it, because there's other plants that have been injured through it. There's other plants that have been harmed by it. And so we need to give the nutrients, and we need to nourish it, and we need to take the time with it. That is why as a church we are so focused upon, not ourselves, but on God's Word. Because if we put God's Word as that foundation, then we can continue to have nurture. We can continue to understand that, guess what, there's always going to be weeds. But we can also understand, as we're going to see today, that guess what, God just weeds sometimes. And it happens. But as God is weeded in different areas, those plants that are around that are left, that they have the opportunity to grow. That's not what I'm saying. That's what Jesus is going to say. So as we go through this today, maybe you're someone, and I know this is some of you right now, where you're sitting there going, I would really like to step up more in my faith. But, and we stop for a second. But I have this in my past. But this is a struggle that I go through. But no one's really going to want me. But I have this addiction. But. And because of that but, we stop. And what ends up happening is we stop ourselves, but we also never give God the chance to be God in our life. We never give God the chance to say, listen, all that stuff, I can heal all that. And when those weeds are being torn out one by one, I'm going to fill in those empty spots. And I'm going to help the other things grow around it. And that includes your heart, and that includes your mind, and that includes your everyday life. If you'll take the time to learn it, if you'll take the time to truly learn it and then to live it, you're going to have that opportunity to love others with it. I get it right here before I can go here. That's what God wants for each one of us. So if you're someone today that's like, man, there's just no way, because my thing, no one else has gone through this. No one else has ever had this addiction. And yet numbers say that there's 20, 30, 40% of our population that do it. No one else has ever had someone that left them. And yet there's people sitting right here that have dealt with that very thing. No one else, their kids aren't as bad as my kids are. Their grandkids aren't doing the things that my grandkids have done. They haven't struggled with finances the way that I've struggled with finances. They don't know what it means to put a bottle ahead of the loved ones that I have. They don't know how lonely I am, how discouraged I am. You don't know the anxiety that rises up in me, the doubt that I have at times, even when I'm reading God's Word. And what we've done at that point is we've just literally said to God, you know what, God, I do not believe that you are big enough to handle this. I don't believe that you're big enough to take this. Because we've already put ourselves ahead of Him and said, but. Jesus is going to share with you today, and He's going to share with me today the words to show you how it is that we can take a step forward together and on our own, and to not only allow Him to weed those things out in our life, but at the end of the day that we can learn it, that we can live it, and that we can love others with it. Here's the words that Jesus shares in chapter 13, starting in verse 24. This is known as the parable of the weeds. Let me give you a little bit of background here, because Jesus has basically been preaching. He's talking to all these people, and everybody's listening. Because everyone at this time, this is what they're used to. Listen, there's 25 rules that you have to follow every single day. And there's not just 10 commandments, there's 600 of them. And I notice that you messed up number 589. And you can't keep messing up 589. So your penance is you need to bring me a goat and a bag of gold, and then I'll forgive you. And you over there, you messed up number 337. That's kind of a bad one. You need to bring me a sheep and a steak and a bag of gold. And so there's people who are constantly looking down their fingers and letting them know that you messed up this commandment, and they guilt them, and they guilt them, and they we don't need guilt. It weighs us down. It wears us out. Jesus is trying to swing them to grace, and when they start hearing about this grace, they're like, wait a second, this means that God does want to intervene. And this means that God is actually interested in me personally. And this means that He can heal these things when I give Him the opportunity to. But they've never heard that before. All they've ever heard is how bad they are, how much they screwed up, how much of a mess up they are, how they're probably never going to be able to fix it because they're just trying to fix it and fix it and fix it. And God's going, hey. Just rest a little bit. Rest in me. So Jesus is sharing the sower of the seeds, which we've all heard that story before, where the sower goes down and he's throwing different seeds, and some of the seeds sprout up, and some of them are on bad ground, and he goes through this whole thing, and this crowd is listening, so they're taking this in, because they've never heard someone not only speak with the authority he speaks with, but who speaks with love, who speaks with that faith, who brings that hope to them. And so these are the words that he shared. In my Bible it says the parable of the weeds. That is not part of the Bible, it's just how they separate it from the title. And verse 24 says, Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seeds in the field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The wheat that they're talking about here, some of your Bibles might say tares. It's known as darnel. And so in this area, there was a weed that looked just like wheat. So as this darnel is growing amongst the wheat, it looks the exact same. And what has happened, and this was actually something that took place in this culture, is that if I have something against you, if you are my enemy, I'm going to sneak in when I know that you're sleeping. Because you just planted all your fields, you just planted all your crops, and you're feeling pretty good right now. But you're also tired. And you know that you need to rest so that the next day you can come back to continue to watch over those fields. And so the enemy, the guy comes in and says, all I need to do now to take this guy out or to push him back a little bit, I'll sprinkle this darnel amongst the wheat. And what will happen is when it starts to grow up, he'll think he's getting double the crop. And he won't know until it's too late. And guess what? Half this crop is bad. He may have already planted, he may have already sold it, he may have already said in the market, listen, I've got 50 bushels of this coming, and then finding out, oh my goodness, I'm only going to have 25. He could be making deals which would hurt his word and hurt who he is as a person. But he sees the weed and the darnel coming, the wheat and the darnel coming up together, and he's like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm going to be the greatest farmer of all time, and everybody's going to know about it. Whereas that enemy is like sneaking in and saying, guess what? I'm going to put this in here, and he's going to have no idea. And so as these start to grow together, as they start to come up together, they look the exact same. But many times, the attack, and what we don't realize, comes at us, and for each one of us, is when we're not focusing on it. The farmer was so focused on his crop that he didn't focus upon that, guess what? This might not be exactly what I think that it is. And so as it creeps up and as it grows together, he is feeling that, wow, I have this opportunity to make the crop of a lifetime. The problem is that with that crop, half of everything he has now, someone has stepped in and is taking the very fabric of what brings him life. What brings you life? What is it that brings you the best out in you? Is it your faith? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it your work? Is it school? Is it a team that you're on? What is it that brings the best out in you? Because in each one of those, we can point and say, man, my faith right now, I'm going through, and things with God, me and God are so good right now. I can't tell you how great things are. And then weeds are popping up and slowly growing, and we don't even recognize them. And things with me and my wife, they are so wonderful. Me and my husband, they are so good. It's the best it's ever been. And we don't see the weeds that are growing up amongst those. But my kids are doing so well, you can't even imagine. It's been such a great time in our life, and we're enjoying it so much, and we can't even see the weeds that they have that are growing growing up amongst them because they're hidden through social media and through apps that we don't understand and through all the areas that they have to deal with that we never had to deal with. Just like this farmer's not going to recognize the weeds until it's too late. It's when we are resting. It's when we are sleeping. It's when we least expect that all of a sudden hit the brakes. Life may take a turn. where is it then that we turn to? Where is it that we focus upon? Jesus continues and he says, when the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. So what happens is when the wheat is ready to be harvested, all of a sudden it has these little heads and flowers that come upon it. You're like, oh my goodness, it's wheat. But with the weeds, they've grown and grown and grown in there with them, and they don't sprout. And all of a sudden, it's time now to harvest, and half my crop isn't even going to be wheat. So that means now, this huge crop that I thought that I was going to have, I'm going to have to bring these servants along, and they're going to have to pick everything. They didn't have the machinery like we have nowadays. So they have to go along and pick everything. So now I've got to pay not just one person, but 2 people. Or not just 2 people, but 4 people to help to dig up every single weed and wheat. And all this money that I thought I was going to make, how everything was sitting so good, we were going to get a vacation house, we were going to get a boat, we were going to get a plane, we were going to get all these great things. We were going to just take a vacation, we were going to, whatever it might be, new car, fancy, clothes, whatever, that we'd all planned for. All of a sudden, I not only have none of that, but I've got to pay all that much more to these workers to literally have them harvest the weeds in my life, harvest the weeds in my field. And I didn't recognize it. I couldn't see it because it looked so good. And then when it came time for the harvest, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm in such a bad way. How did I not recognize this? And so we beat ourselves up, and we go back and we dwell in it, and we rest in our past, and we rest in our struggles. And all the while, the world is just passing us through and passing by us because we've lost our focus on where we need to stay focused. There was a harvest still. People are going to be fed from that harvest. There was going to be something positive for it. It was going to help people. It was going to feed people. But all I could focus upon were those weeds. Jesus continues, says, the owner's servants came to him and said, Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from? So listen, hey, we were there with you. We saw this. We know that you're sowing good seeds. So where does these possibly come from? We know your character. We know that you have integrity. We know that you choose to do the right thing. We know your heart. How many people notice today, just be honest with me, that on the screen when the words are going up, that it kind of did one of these things? Okay, how many of you guys have your heads going with it to try and read? Right? That's part of the flaws sometimes that we have. We have a new chord that is coming that is hopefully going to help with that little shaky thing. And when that happens, we'll look back and go, oh my goodness, remember when the words used to shake? And then what we'll do is we'll look up and go, well, there's 3 words that are misspelled. And then we'll hold on to that. There's these little weeds that are popping up all over the place. But when I look at that, that's part of who we are right now. And guess what? Just like that's flawed, I'm flawed. Just like I'm flawed, you're flawed. We all have those flaws. But too many times we focus upon those weeds. I would rather say, you know what? I love Andy. She's got a great heart. I love Tamar. She's got a great heart. I love Donna. She's got a great heart. And when Mike and Brenda and whoever is coming up with them next week, I like them. They've got great hearts. I like her. She's got a great heart. We don't look at the hearts. We look right away for those flaws. We. That's just human nature. That's naturally who we are. And what God is saying, if we're going to live by faith, hope, and love, and if love is the greatest thing, and this is what's going to remain, when we start living and loving as Christ loves us. And understanding that God's going to lead. He has to, for each one of us. So they turn the blame, and then all of a sudden in verse 28 it says, an enemy did this. This is what the owner replies. An enemy did this. An enemy did this. The devil did this. It infiltrated in here. It happens. It's part of life. The servants asked, do you want us to go and pull them up? And watch what he says. His no, he answered, because while you are pulling the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned, then gather the wheat and bring them into my barn. Some of you have come to me as God has weeded here recently. And literally you've said to me and shared things with me of, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and you need to stand up, and you need to fight this, and I'm not done. You know why? In my ministry, since I've been in ministry, the first lesson that Dallas taught me and I've held on to is I'm going to focus on the ones who are here, not the ones who aren't here. That doesn't mean I don't stop loving them. That doesn't mean I don't stop caring for them. But we didn't ask anybody to leave. We didn't kick anybody out. Some of you may be struggling right now, even with the new Constitution. You can come talk to me, Rick and Keith. We'll sit down with you. Have a one-on-one conversation to understand some of the things that you may not understand. Come talk to us. It's okay. Because at the end of the day, we want you and we want to be people that live by faith, hope, and love, knowing that love is the greatest of these. We want to be someone that's going to say, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to live it, I'm going to love others with it. It being the gospel, it being the good news. So if I'm worried about all those that have been weeded, and yet there's a hole there, and the roots have been taken out, and you're continuing to hurt, and you're here, what kind of a farmer am I? What kind of a farmer are the different leaders here? Are we doing really what God wants us to do? And so there's times when we have to allow it. There's other times where we have to face it, and that's going to happen as well. But we have to be strong enough in our faith to understand that we may not recognize it until it's too late. And at that point, for some of us, it's not our place. It's not in each of us to handle, because the weeds have already been taken out. We still love them. We still care for them. But I want to make sure that we're filling in for those soil, with that soil. I want to make sure we're pushing it down. I want to make sure that you're getting the nutrients you need. I want to make sure that you're finding where God is gifting you, and you're living that gifting. And I don't want a piece of paper, and I don't want what someone else said, and I don't want what someone else did, and I don't want what he said, she said, back and forth. We can do that all day long to hold you back. Because your life is your life, and your faith is your faith, and your love is your love. And the hope that you bring is the hope that you bring. I want you to be filled with that. And I want you to know that there's going to come a time of harvest for each one of us. So they go through, and Jesus has a whole discussion that comes about. Let me finish with what the farmer says. Says, no, he answered, because while you are pulling the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters. The harvesters are the angels in this story, which you're going to find in your short. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned, and then gather the wheat and bring them into my barn. So Jesus goes out, he's talking with all these things, he's sharing all these parables, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, I love when he talks and when he shares. And when I walk away, it's like, I feel like so uplifted. It's like, they weren't like, you're guilty, you're guilty, you're guilty, you're going to hell, and plop off your arm and poke yourself in the eye, and all these things that we've been learning for all this time. They're like, oh, wait a second, listen, you know what? You're actually worthy of being loved. You're actually worth it. Listen, God loves you so much. Are you a screw-up? Yeah, guess what? I'm a screw-up too. We've all messed up. And yet God still loves us. That's a pretty good deal. He's just waiting for us to say, listen, I got some weeds here. There's these weeds that are popping up. Some are popping up from within. I've got questions. I've got things that are going on. I've got a past. I've got, we've all got them. We're all part of a statistic somewhere. What are we going to choose to be that statistic that says, I am someone that lives my faith before others? And I love people, and I'm not afraid to tell them I have weeds. But I'm also not afraid to let them know that God can weed these. And I'm also not afraid to let them know that as these weeds are taken out, more weeds are going to pop up. God can weed those too. He can do it for you, and he can do it for me. And in the end, at the end of the day, you know who's going to handle it? The angels are. It's already been set aside. So all these disciples are sitting there, and they're having this whole conversation, and Jesus shares something, and just blowing their mind. He's like, oh, this is like the coolest thing. So he has all these discussions with the sower, and where the seeds go, and all that, and they get together and move forward to verse 34. And Jesus shares with them. He says, Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. So was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world. You can read that in Psalm 78. So So this is actually fulfilling a prophecy. Jesus knows not only who he is, but whose he is. And so when he is sitting and sharing this with us, he's saying, now listen, the things that I'm sharing are still the things that have been spoken through time. These are the lessons that have been passed down. These are the messages that have been given. These are the songs that you hear people sharing. And so now the disciples have the chance here now to have this teaching moment. And so verse 39 says, then he left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field. You know what, Jesus, you've been talking all day. You've been talking about sowing the seeds and sharing all that kind of stuff. We've been listening to everything. But of all the things, can you explain to us this whole thing about the parable of the weeds in the field? And this just wasn't one disciple. It was all of the disciples. So they had a concern with what they heard because there was something that God was trying to teach them. And every week when we come in here, God is trying to teach you something. You would not be sitting here in this pew if you did not want to hear something from God. God, at the end of the day, I want to know that my faith can be made strong enough that even though I know there are weeds, that you can pull them, you can weed them, and you can fill that spot, you can nourish it, and you can help everything else flourish around it. Because there are times when I really struggle with my mouth. There's a time when I struggle with my words. There's a time when I struggle with putting you second. There's a time when I struggle as a spouse or with my finances or in relation. There's a time when I struggle and I worry so much and I doubt that I'm really worth it. There's a time when we fill in the blank. These guys are saying that very thing. Listen, you're wanting us to go and share this with others, but we don't quite understand what's going on. We cannot learn God's Word until we spend time in God's Word. If it stays like this, He can't talk to us. Hey, look, there's my name. Look, there's the name of the Bible. It's when we open it up and in this love letter that He speaks to each of us. So right where you sit, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. I want you to listen to God's Word. And there's something in here, the words of Jesus, that will speak to you and where you live. Jesus answered, then they left the crowd. He said, explain to us the parables of the weeds in the field. Now just listen. Jesus answered, the one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out